Nope.
Touchdown Tampa Bay. You're listening to the PewterCast.
Welcome to the PewterCast. I am Brent Allen, joined as always by my good friend Ren. Man, do we got chemistry daxed. Ren, how's it going, my friend?
It's going well. Long time no see. That reference to the listeners was to a podcast, the Packers pod. Was that Packcast or
the Packcast? Yeah.
Or Packcast? Or Packcast or Packcast?
Packcast.
Yeah. Anyway, we were on a YouTube channel.
It was kind of cheesy.
What was?
The Packcast, the yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the host, Tom, I believe, he kept gushing about our chemistry.
Yeah.
About,
right.
about sort of the dynamic between the two of us. And
right.
So that's what that means. Because, every time Brent's got to open up the show with Zing Me, and I have no idea what's coming.
Gusto. Oh, Zing you, yeah.
Yeah, you always got to say something about me, but then I have no idea what it is. And it's usually something that we just discussed 10 minutes before.
Right, because I literally just think about it as I'm like doing the opening. I'm like, oh, crap, what am I going to say as I'm the something or other?
By the way, what is that other music that you now have played twice at the beginning of our?
Oh yeah, yeah. So the pads that I use for the music, a little behind the scenes for everybody out there listening. If anybody out there listening to the podcast wants to know, go over to our YouTube channel and catch the mistake at the very beginning of the episode.
For the second time.
It happens. So when I turn on the machine, that's like the default thing. So I have to like go over and change it, and I just forgot to move it over and go over and change it.
Why can't you just put like Gene as the default?
I probably ought to do that, but I haven't.
Okay.
And I probably should do that.
Okay. Just checking.
I was literally having that same thought, but I wasn't going to talk about it live on the air. Gosh, Ren. Hey, listen, this is kind of a special show for us. We don't usually do this kind of show midweek.
It's true. We don't.
Right. This is a show that I think the best way I can describe it is sort of like a cooler heads prevail type of episode. Because our last episode, which was like,
I don't know if that's going to work.
We'll see. Our last episode, which was like 5 days ago, which is a long time for us in the middle of
Thursday night.
Right. Was it 5? I don't know. I'm not doing the math. Anyway,
it's Tuesday. The Titans just beat the Bills. It's Tuesday. Just let everyone know it's Tuesday.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Did you not know there was football tonight?
I did, but it was the last thing on my mind because I've had this show and I've had baseball practice with the kid and a bunch of other stuff going on. So the NFL, while I love football, only takes over my life 3 days a week. Not they can't have my Tuesdays, Ren.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
Tuesdays.
Yeah. That's taco day.
Right. Well, tonight it was chicken. Anyway, the basic idea that show was such a fiery, explosive show, and that's how that show's meant to go.
Right.
That's the way that show's meant to be. That is the post-game raw reactions, full of the emotion, good, the bad, the ugly, all of it there. And I think there was all of those combined in the last show. It was also a great show for a lot of reasons, because it was a watershed. I don't know what high water show for us. We were joined by the most number of live people we've ever been joined by at any given time.
Yeah.
Ever.
I wonder how that went with that show being so. Well, basically,
this is the show we want everybody to come watch.
Yeah,
where Ren's grabbing the mic and yelling at someone.
Exactly. I mean, did I just like completely turn off a bunch of people, or were people like, "Hey, that's pretty good"? Like
that's
like
right.
Like,
that's just Ren.
Yeah. I don't know.
Right. So anyway, so there was that show, but this is really just sort of now we've had a chance to breathe. I got to confess, I haven't watched any game film. I have not rewatched that game again. I don't know that I could take it, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. Like
yesterday,
I was still like fuming about the game. Monday. And then like today I woke up and I was pretty much okay, you know. And then I started thinking about it again, and then we had that pod. And then I was fired up about it again. Like what I keep thinking about, it's about the only thing we haven't talked about. We've talked about how the zone defense stinks. We talk about how I think there is a exhaust port type hole that leads directly to the reactor of Todd Bowles' defense on the left-hand side when they play zone. We've talked about Donovan Smith at exhaustion. We've talked about injuries. We've talked about Tom Brady 4th down. We've talked about just everything that was negative that game. We didn't talk about how Mike Evans acted like he was an extra at the very beginning of a zombie movie when everyone turns. That one play where he just started running down the field and just pushing everybody down. He pushed like 2 players down, like complete loss of composure, just complete desperation. It's like that pretty girl extra who starts to scream and freaks out and completely does nothing logical and ends up getting eaten by, like, that was Mike. He's just running down the field like, get away from me, zombie, get away. Like what is that? I mean, he knows that's illegal. And he did just anybody that got within his wingspan, he was just pushing over. Like, what is that?
Okay, wait. So I remember this happening on one play. Was it just one play, or was this something that continued throughout the game?
This was just one play.
Oh, okay,
I think it was like a double penalty play. It was like, well, not only this penalty, hey, everybody look at this. And Mike's just running down the field, shoving corners over. And it's like, what are you doing?
Right.
And it was the same drive where everyone else in the whole entire offense got penalized.
Well, okay, let's talk about that for a moment. All right.
Sure.
And less out of this whole game, but let's talk about Mike's first 5 weeks of this year.
Sure.
He's been a bit more fiery this year overall.
He's regressed maturity wise.
Yeah. Like in years prior, Mike's always had a bit of an edge to him.
Right. And then he seemed to get under control.
And right. Remember, like, he used to complain to the refs about everything, and he's finally stopped doing that. For whatever reason, Marshawn Lattimore always gets under his skin.
That's true.
Especially if they're winning.
Yes.
Especially if they're winning. It really.
You mean the Saints?
Yes, that's what I meant. Yes, the Saints. Especially if they're winning. I've never seen him lose it on other players, though, like from other teams.
He almost punched somebody in the face.
Right.
A couple of games ago. He totally squared up on that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he
right.
he was about to punch that dude right through his helmet.
Right.
And and people just keep giving him, well, it's Mike, he's a fiery guy. But you kind of combine the Lattimore, which I guess now we're at the point we just forgive. Like, okay, Mike's gonna lose his crap 2 games, okay?
Right.
Well,
it's Marshawn.
or it's a defensive fault. Like, well, if you didn't give up all those points, we'd be winning, and then he wouldn't lose his crap. Okay, so but now it's like 2 more games where he's just lost it. Like he almost punched a Denver guy, and then like I said, I just talked about the zombie movie. Like he just like get away from me. Like that is completely like there's no excuse for that. Like, what were you possibly thinking? You weren't. You were just frustrated, and you're going to take it out on anybody you saw. It was like you're getting beat, and you're so frustrated, you just take a cheap shot. It's like in soccer, slide tackling someone from behind. Or in basketball, just somebody drives the hoop and you just come over and just lay them out. Like, you're not trying to get the ball. You're just trying to put this guy on the floor really hard because, my feelings are hurt.
Right. So
after that, here comes the positive.
No. Now here comes because again, I don't want this episode to necessarily focus so much on the Bears game. I want to focus more on going forward.
I'm with you. I just had to get that off my chest. I'm sorry.
Here's the question I want to ask, but it's a really dumb question because the answer is nothing. So what are we going to do about it, Ren?
Oh,
the answer is
We have to.
We aren't going to do anything about it.
We have to build a winning culture. It's because there's no
Oh my
winning
God.
culture there. That's why.
Yes. We have to get that cancer out of the locker room and change leadership. And they have to intentionally build this. And
then
Mike needs to be pulled aside and sat down, but it needs to be somebody who's got some really, okay, let's get off that.
Okay.
No, but seriously, this isn't something that's going to be okay going forward, not long term, and not every game or most games, to see that out of Mike. Like we need this.
No, and I think
to calm down from him.
And as per usual, it's gonna get better. Like he's gonna have had a talking to, and he's gonna get better until he doesn't again. Kind of like with Donovan Smith. Like he plays great until he doesn't again.
Right.
But by the way, this year it's even been worse. He's got 3 bad games to 2 good games.
Yeah.
So But I think Michael,
is it actually 2 good games, or is it more like
2 not bad games?
3 good quarters is what it almost feels like. Does he have wait, is it like 2 good games when you combine all the quarters he played well over 5?
No, I thought he did fine in the Denver game, and what was the other game? The Panther? No, not the Panthers game.
The Panthers game, yeah.
And he looked bad. No, the Chargers game. He looked bad in the Panthers game. He looked bad in the Saints game.
I thought he didn't look good in the Chargers game.
Did he not?
I didn't watch the Chargers game. I was driving that particular day. So anyway,
no one got to Brady in the Chargers game. I think it was like,
that's right. They kept him clean. I remember hearing about all that.
Yeah. And then the Chicago game happened.
So here's a thing about Mike. How much of this do you think might have to do with his injury, this lingering hamstring injury?
I don't think there is a list. I've never said this. I think that's all a bunch of crap.
Okay,
like I think he was injured going into it, but he played like 98% of the snaps in the Saints game. If you have an injury, you don't. With the whole entire team was healthy,
right?
Like you don't play 98. You don't play 90. But everyone's like, "Oh, Lattimore shut him down, so he has an injury." And then he did. And then he had a good game, 100 yards. All of a sudden, he's fine again. Now he has 2 catches, 2 yards, 2 touchdowns. Oh well, he's injured. The Bears game, didn't show up a lot. Oh, well, he's still fighting through his injury. Bullcrap. He's been fine since week 1. The end.
All right. Fair enough.
But to answer your question, I think Mike will be fine for the rest of the season. I really do.
Okay.
I think he was just pushing too hard.
Fair enough. I want to dive back into something that you brought up on the live show.
Sure.
And I really want to dive down into this because it's got me worried. It's got me incredibly concerned. You already mentioned it in this show.
Okay.
You talked about the exhaust port of Todd Bowles' defense.
Yeah.
And for those out there wondering, this is a reference to Star Wars, where they went and blew up the Death Star, and it's the one little pinprick that if you exploit it, it's going to destroy the whole thing.
Right. And everyone who already knew that is feeling very, very not triggered. What do they say? They're hurt. They're very upset that you had to explain that. And the people that didn't know it didn't care.
They're grateful. Anyway, my question is this.
Okay, what's your question?
This is what really has me concerned. Are teams figuring out Todd Bowles' defense to the point that it's basically going to become ineffective?
No, that's a massive overreaction, because you look at the game. I mean, Chicago came out and even though they did exploit, that left side zone of the defense. Also, a thing that I'm a little worried about is they're recognizing when the outside linebackers, which are really, let's face it, they're defensive end, they're edge rushers, they're not really outside linebackers, are trying to, when Shaq and JPP are trying to cover, and Anthony Nelson to some points, trying to cover a back or a tight end in the flats out of the backfield. And that's how they picked up that last third down to get it well within field goal range, when basically Sean Murphy-Bunting picked Shaq Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
And they threw the pass to, I believe, I don't think it's Singletary. Was it Singletary? Anyway, they threw it to their back. Yeah, sorry. They threw it to their back and they picked up the first down. Okay, I'm afraid that teams are picking up on that too often.
Yeah.
And if they're going to play off in that soft zone, they're just going to take the 7 yards they're giving him. But if you look at the second, if you look at that Chicago game, okay, Now, their first touchdown probably shouldn't have scored because the guard moved, and it should have been 3rd and 17, right?
Yep, absolutely.
It should have been 3rd and 17 instead of 3rd and what it made it like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6. Then it picked up the first down. Okay, they went, but they had the rest of the field to go down and stop them. Okay, that's fair. The second touchdown is a fumble deep in our own territory right before the half, where Jimmy Graham made a miraculous catch. And by the way, if he didn't catch it, Jamel Dean was interfering with him anyway. He had his arm, pinned his arm down. But, he makes a miraculous catch. Now we're down 14-13, right? The defense only gave up 6 points the rest of the game, and 3 of them came like in the last seconds, inside the last minute. So, no, I'm not. You go back and look at the Chargers game. I'm telling you, and I watched the Monday night game, the Chargers Saints game. I'm telling you, Herbert's picks are going to come. He's getting dealt 2 aces in the hole every time he takes a chance on a deep ball. I mean, I don't even think he's even looking where he's throwing sometimes. He just knows the general area to put it, and he's just putting it, like, well, I'm not going to throw it. He's putting it in a hard space to catch for anybody, and people are coming up with receptions for him. I'm telling you, his interceptions are coming. So, and plus, 7 of those 31 points was a pick 6. So they only gave up 24. And all 3 of those touchdowns were on big plays. And one of their touchdown drives was because of 2 penalties. One, the Shaq Barrett. Was it a Shaq? No, that was the other play. They had one was a Jordan Whitehead where he hit him out of bounds, and then one was a Carlton Davis non-existent PI call that both went for first downs on 3rd down.
Right.
During that drive. So now, so we're down to 14 points. So the defense is playing well, and they're playing fine. It's just a little frustrating that when push came to shove versus Chicago, they ended up picking. They only need like 20 yards, and they got the 20 yards and kicked the field goal and won, and that's like a little frustrating. And then against the Chargers game, where he just kept getting 2 aces in the hole. Like the first touchdown he threw up for grabs. The other one, the guy had to get both his feet in. Sean Murphy bunting. It's in great coverage. That's the first catch the guy's ever had in the NFL, and he gets both feet in near the pylon. It's just lucky.
Yeah. And
then you can go back to the Panthers game where it ended up 21-14, and all Buccaneers Nation freaks out. Oh my God, they're coming back. What is the defense doing? It's like, well, they won the game. What would they win the game? 28-14. Like you gave up 14 points. Like what's the problem? And then week 1, we're not going to hash it all, but there was another pick 6 in there, and it was just kind of a wonky game. And that, so no, I can understand the everyone's figuring this out. What's happening with the Bucs? But I think it's more of people being frustrated, such as myself, and other fans that pay attention, is that the zone defense isn't very good, and they feel that Todd Bowles is playing too much of it. Especially how good they are at man.
Yeah, and I wanted to go to that next. That's been a big thing this week specifically, is how they started moving to that zone, putting this big soft cushion in there, which I feel like Bucs fans, and as a Bucs fan, and rightly so, we are all hypersensitive to that particular type of defense because of what we just experienced with Mike Smith for so many years. You give this big pad of cushion, you play like that, and we saw what happened.
Yeah.
And it's not good. And our guys need to be in there. They need to be up there. But there's a piece of me, and I played offense in football. I've never been a big defensive guy. But it occurs to me, you need a mix of both. You need some man, you need some zone. Like just like in offense, you got to mix it in there. So we can't expect it to be man every single play.
Agreed. But it can be like on first down, second down. If it's third and 12, play zone sticks defense, like put your cornerbacks on, right at the first down marker and keep everything in front of you. That's fine.
Right.
If it's, at the end of the half, even though how much, we don't like prevent defense, but they don't have any timeouts.
Yeah.
Like playing prevent sidelines is the way to go until they get like a couple first downs, and then you got to switch it up. But they have to complete the ball first. Then you're going to get tackled right away. Then the fat guys have to run down, and they'll have to get all set. He has to call the play, and then he has to hike it and do that twice. That's, you're talking 35, 40 seconds for those two plays to run off, and that's fine. But now you're at midfieldish, and you got to kind of do something different, because if you do it two more times, and it all depends how much time is on the clock. But if it's 3rd and 19, play zone.
Yeah.
That's fine. If it's, 1st and 10 or 1st and goal at the 9, play zone. I'm fine. But, if it's 1st down and 10 on their 25, and you're going to play 7 yards off, the receivers, they're just going to turn and fire. And then it's going to be 2nd and 4 or 2nd and 3. So, that, why are you doing that? And I get it if we can't match up man to man, but obviously we can. Carlton Davis had an outstanding year. I still think he's getting jobbed almost every pass interference call. If he's got 4, I think 1 was legitimate pass interference.
Right.
Well, it's been 5, so he has 1 a game.
Is that true of cornerbacks across the league, though?
I think Fuller got. I don't know. I don't I watch football, and I'm not understand. I watch every game, and I watch a lot of football, but usually they're pretty egregious. I don't see the ticky-tackness that Carlton gets called for in any other game that I watch. I just don't see those calls, and especially
just to clarify, this isn't you just being hyper aware as a Bucs fan and everything goes against your team. It's not that. That's your
I've been saying Carlton's been getting jobs since halfway through last season.
Yeah, because
he started off as a reputation for being very handsy, and all his year 1 and sort of the first part of year 2, they were justified, completely justified. I thought there were other cornerbacks that were just as handsy, but they have a better reputation in the league, and they get away with that kind of stuff. Or you play for the Saints, because that's all they do. They just rip and grab you, and they dare the ref to throw a flag every play. We can't be committing pass interference every play, so they just grab and hold and cheat and every single time you pass the ball, and they're going to get caught 3 or 4 times a game, but they're also going to stop you 3 or 4 times a game. So, what was the question? I don't remember. I was on Carlton Davis, thought he was getting jobbed.
Right.
Pressman. Yeah. Because and then you have Jamel Dean, who had 4 pass breakups and had a 92 on PFF. Because they have the outside corners to do it.
Right.
So why just, I understand why I don't want to give up the big play. Well, neither do I, and neither do they, but it's death by 1,000 paper cuts, 7 yards, 12 yards at a time.
Right.
Or is it because Devin White still can't cover? He can't. I don't care. Can't cover in zone. Can't do it. Can't till you do it. You can't do it. And now that they're making Levante David turn and run in coverage, he can't do that either. In zone, you keep it in front of him, But if they're making him turn and run in his zone, he can't cover anybody.
So why are the Buccaneers doing this? I mean, I know you're not in the meeting rooms and stuff, but this obviously isn't something that's working. This is not the Todd Bowles type of defense that we've come to know and love, and that we've come to be familiar with over the last season and a half. And I understand there's more.
No, it is. That's the whole point. It is.
It is. Okay.
It is. Well, they gave up 20 points. Only gave 6 points in the second half. If you were losing by 1 point coming out of halftime, and you tell the defense, and if you tell the offense, they're only going to score 6 more points. If you score 7, it's a tie game. You have 2 quarters to do it. Do you think you can win?
Right.
You take that every time.
Yeah.
I just broke down that it is. It just feels like it's not.
Okay. So this is why I wanted to get to this episode. Do what?
What's that?
I was saying this is why I wanted to get to this episode.
Right.
Because what you just said was, it's not that in reality. It just feels that way.
Yeah, it just feels that way because we're 3-2. Yeah.
Right. And we still all have the taste of this game in our mouths, and we've had it for longer than we normally would, with it being the extended quote unquote mini bye week.
Yeah. And then you look at the Chargers game, and it's a game that with all their injuries, we should have won that game a lot easier than we did.
Right.
The second half of that game should have went the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
But then you watch it Monday night, and it was like watching the same game all over again, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chargers came out to a big lead. Saints scored right before halftime on a mistake. It was actually an interception by Herbert, and the Saints scored right before halftime to get back in it. And then they had a field goal to win the game. The Chargers had a field goal to win the game. I mean, the Chargers are they're like hats off to their offensive scheme, defensive scheme, and coaching job because they got a bunch of nobodies playing for them and they're hanging tough.
Wow,
I know it was bad.
That's 1989. New
Grad
Kids
night.
on the Block reference, folks.
Grad night.
Holy cow!
Were you there?
Grad night. That was like elementary night for me. Anyway,
Elementary night. Fetus night.
That was me and my cousins in the living room pretending to be, whatever. I was always the guy on the left. Anyway, wow. I don't even know his name.
Thank you for saving me on that. I was the big nerd until that little tidbit.
The 5 hardest working dads in show business. Okay. Anyway, one more question.
Sure.
About this, then I want about the game with Chicago, and then I want to move talking about the defense going forward. Is it fair to say this? I think I'm hearing this from you, and this is a thought I've been having over the course of this week.
Mm-hmm.
All of our complaints about the defense.
Yeah.
When you look at it, they still only scored, was it 17 points?
20.
Was it 20? Okay.
2019 was the game.
2019. All right. Like, the defense,
one of the touchdowns was well. Started on their own 20.
Right. The defense did their thing. The real culprit in this game with Chicago was the offense not being able to get anything going.
It was not being able to punch it in the second half, getting in the red zone, which is going to happen some games. It really is. A very untimely turnover. Nobody's fault, really. Mm-hmm. You could maybe blame it on Brady, like he should have just threw it at his feet because he saw that the cornerback closing was going to kill him. You can't blame Keyshawn Vaughn because 97 because 97 of 100 people drop that ball, and the 3 people that don't, it's because the ball gets like pinned to their chest,
right?
So there's really it was just bad luck. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then just the penalties and shooting themselves in the foot in the second half where they just could not get out of their own way as the defense completely did their job.
Right.
And that's some really crappy calls by the rest that really hurt the team.
Right. And that's where I kind of wanted to come with this was as far as the defense goes, because I've seen a lot of people trying to place blame at the defense or talk about the defense is bad, all these things.
Right.
And really, they're not. Like, the defense actually did what they were supposed to do. They played the way they typically play. You give a team 20 points, that's fine. We expect our team to score 30 or 28.
The most points they've given up all year is 24.
Right.
And we won that game.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, wait. No, the Saints game. But they had a pick 6 too. So I don't really remember what the Saints score was.
Right. Oh, gosh.
But they held Drew Brees 160 yards.
Yeah.
And to Kamara less than 100 yards combined.
100 combined. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't their fault.
We have not had a running back go over 100 yet this season, I don't think.
Oh no. Only had one.
We had one last year, I think.
One last year. That was the Carson one. And if we were to cover that fumble that Devin White punched into the ground so hard it bounced up into the stands, that run wouldn't have counted, I don't think. Maybe it does. I don't know if that yardage counts or not. Yeah, it probably does. Yeah. Anyway, he got more than half of his 100 yards on that one run.
Yeah.
So,
okay, the big question regarding the defense though going forward.
Yes, it is.
Vita Vea.
Mm-hmm.
There's been number 1 run defense.
Yeah.
I don't care who they bring in there.
Right.
Do we expect them to maintain this number 1 run defense going forward without Vita Vea, regardless of who they put in there?
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
But
I have major questions about that.
Well,
will only be answered on the field, by the way.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. But right now, the Buccaneers, and even after the Vita Vea injury, are on pace to have the best run defense ever in the NFL. Ever. So losing Vita Vea puts a big damper in that. But I think the team plays enough sound defense, gap integrity type of stuff that although you're not going to get sort of the immovable object from Nacho, and you're not going to get probably any pass rush from Nacho, but he's good enough to not be over. He's good enough to hold up a double team. He may give a yard or two, so the running back gets 4 yards instead of 2.
Mm-hmm.
But Sue's still going to be there. Golson's still going to be there. BA talked out at the presser today that Anthony Nelson can put his hand in the dirt. JPP can move inside. And he talked about Khalil Davis, who I fully expect just to be the replacement for Nacho on obvious passing situations. Maybe be first down, second down, third down, first and 20. Here comes Khalil Davis because
all right, help me. I'm sorry. Hold on. Help me out.
Yeah.
Khalil Davis is
our late round draft pick out of Nebraska.
The guy we all forgot about. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we all equals Brent, but yeah. But he's a Twitch guy. He's like, I don't understand why he's even on the team. He's not a Todd Bowles, hand in the dirt, defensive tackle, nose tackle type of player. Mm-hmm. He beats you with, toolbox hand movement, and shooting gaps and being explosive off the ball. So right now, I completely expect him just to be the third down. So what you're looking at is Khalil Mack and Nacho trying to become Vita Vea. And I think they're good enough where the Bucs will still be in the running for best run defense in the NFL.
All right.
Like, I'd be willing to go out on a limb and say they'll finish in top 5 as long as no one else gets hurt for the season. I'm not saying, Sue missed the game here, or, I'm not saying one game and I'm not calling it off, but I think that they finish in the top 5 because I think Nacho can do. He's shown me enough where he can do what Vita Vea does. He just doesn't do it quite as well, and that's a lot better than just not being able to do it at all.
That makes me happy to hear. That makes me happy. All right, let's jump over and talk about the offense for a little bit here. Let's start where you always should start whenever you're talking about the offense. Let's start at the quarterback position. Tom Brady. Maybe it was the fact that he was missing some of his top receivers in the game on Thursday. Maybe it's the fact he's 43 and getting old and he had an Alzheimer's moment where he forgot what down it was.
Mm-hmm.
Something just seemed off with the quarterback position last week, and I can't put my finger on it. How did you feel about that spot last week? And do you have any kind of ideas for where what's going on there?
It reminded me a lot of the Chargers game, like he missed Gronk out of the back of the end zone early. And then in this Chicago game, he missed Hudson out of the back of Tanner Hudson out of the back of the end zone early. Both would have been touchdowns easily. But they were still moving the ball down the field. The difference was when they got in the red zone, they couldn't punch in and had to settle for field goals. 2 of the 3 times they got down there. And that's how they got the 13 points in the half. In the second quarter, as soon as Khalil Mack sacked him, which, by the way, I will say this again, if Brady was a Josh Allen or a younger quarterback or a Ben Roethlisberger, somebody who doesn't go down at the slightest touch,
right?
Like, he could have got out of that. Even Tom Brady being 43 the way he is now, if he put the effort in to try to, brace himself, fend that off, spin, shrug, whatever he had to do, I think Khalil Mack would have slid right off him because Wirtz still had a hold of him. Okay. But he got an arm on him. He felt the pressure and he just went down. Okay. It's a sack. I'm not trying to say that, Wirtz didn't get beat on the play. I'm just saying that if Tom was a different type of quarterback, they would have got out of that. After that, I thought he saw ghosts for like a quarter and a half until it became like time to go. Like he was dumping the ball off quicker than he had to. He was moving around in the pocket when he didn't have any pressure. And he was rushing throws where he had time. Now he did get hit like 8 times and sacked 3 times. And I think those all happened in the second half. So it's kind of hard for me to sit here and go, hey, you're seeing ghosts when you get hit, you get sacked 3 times in one half. But the first one, like I said, I thought he could have got away with. The second one, he had no chance, or maybe it was the third one, the Donovan Smith one, when we were down in the red zone. And you're going to punch it in, and it's 1st and goal, and then Tom, like, drops back, puts his foot in the ground, and there's Khalil Mack again, but against Donovan Smith right in his face. So, those are both kind of not pressure sacks. Those are just like one you should get away from, one you had no chance. So the other one was the only one that really, could have scared you. You didn't see coming, might have fumbled the ball type of deal. And then it just felt really rushed, out of sync, kind of putting too much pressure on himself and the whole entire offense, kind of like how Mike was. It's like they felt like they were running out of time way before they were running out of time. And they were pushing really hard. It's like, they come out of halftime like, how are we losing this game? Okay, focus up. And then when it started, you're like, focus up. In the Chargers game, everything started to work. Then it just flowed and came nice and easy. And it's like, okay, focus up, and you're still struggling and you're still chunking. Then you start to grip the bat a little tighter, a little tighter, a little tighter. And now, like, Mike's pushing people. Brady's taking dives. Donovan Smith is looking in the crowd for his baby mama instead of blocking people. It just starts, the whole thing falls apart. And then by the time they sort of got it all back together and realized what was going on, the game was over.
Right.
And Brady forgot what down it was. What is that?
It's one of those. Yeah. I don't know. I keep trying to put myself in that position. And I was sitting there going, wait, I thought it was fourth down. Like, I'd be looking up around me, and I'd look at the scoreboard, I'd look at the sideline marker, I'd look everywhere around before I start like asking people about it and go.
Here's what the working theory is. It's like BA and Byron told him it was third down. That's the working theory. From people who understand how those conversations go. They're like, okay, it's 3rd and 6. Okay, this is what you're gonna do. Here's your check down guy. Like, okay, we're gonna go for it here. It's 3rd and 6. Let's try to push down the ball. Push it down. We'll get it next time. And then he's like, it's 4th down now, right? And it's like, because that's what they told me. That's kind of the working theory now. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It's not going to happen again. But I will tell you, Doug Williams did it once time, and I think it was maybe a playoff game, and my dad still hasn't forgiven him.
Your dad still hasn't forgiven him?
No. He's like, there's no way an NFL quarterback should not know what down it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I haven't seen my dad since Thursday's game, so I'm just, of course, he's an early stage of dementia, so he probably doesn't remember.
Oh man. Or, well, yeah, anyway, I won't go there.
Thanks. Thanks for not taking a pot shot at my dad.
Yeah. It's I too have had my relatives there. I'm not. Let's talk about getting the wide receivers back this week.
Sure.
I think one of and it's my theory. I think it's a pretty good theory. A big part of why Tom Brady looked off last week.
Yeah.
Brent's like, yeah, of course you think it's a good theory.
Like, what do you know? I have a theory. I like it a lot. Really? Well,
right.
That's good.
Well, I was just trying to sound like you, Ren, is exactly what it was.
Well, I mean, like I have a lot of theories that aren't good, but I don't say them out loud. So if I say it out loud, then yes, it's a good thing because I've thought about it. Like, it's just the way my brain works.
All right. Well, here we go. I've thought about this one. I think part of the reason why things looked off, and I think it's something that we at least have to acknowledge, is the idea that, what was it, 5 of the top receivers that Brady has were all on the injury report last week. Several of them did not practice. We were missing Godwin. We were missing Watson. Those guys were both out. Scotty Miller didn't hardly do anything.
Didn't get a target.
Huh?
Didn't get a target.
I thought he got 1. Is that wrong?
I don't know. I thought he didn't get any.
I thought he had 1, but I'm not going to die.
No catches.
Right. Yeah. No catches.
We'll stick with that. My theory is no catches.
Mike Evans was fairly invisible for most of the game.
Yeah.
It
was just weird, wasn't it?
It was. And so now we've had this bye week. We presume Godwin's going to come back this week. At least we hope he's going to be back. Watson may or may not, depending on what's going on with the chest injury. I assume
BA said today that we should have everybody back. Besides, obviously, Via, we should have everybody back Sunday. Like, everybody's on track to come back Sunday. That includes Fournette. Yeah. That includes McCoy. That includes Godwin. That includes, Watson. Everybody.
Right. So the only people we're really missing right now are the people on IR. So we're talking about OJ and we're talking about Vita.
Right.
Everybody else is back, right? So that's good. That's good. That's a thing to really, I think, consider about this last game, though, is how much Brady he didn't get to practice with these guys. He's throwing to practice squad guys for the most part. But moving into this, going forward, barring more future injuries, we should have a full complement ready to go again.
Well, at least Godwin and Evans.
Yeah.
And no matter what you think about, Evans in week 1 versus Saints, okay, we'll say he wasn't 100%. Okay. They haven't played together at 100% yet.
Right.
Because Godwin was out week 2 with a concussion. Then he came back week 3 and pulled a hammy sort of like halfway through the game. So, this offense with Chris Godwin is going to run so much smoother than just with Mike Evans.
Right.
Mike Evans and Godwin. Like you saw a little bit of how Tyler Johnson, who, by the way, is now the only Tyler Johnson in Tampa Bay, he looked a lot like Godwin. He caught the ball. He made you tackle him, picked up a bunch of extra yards, bunch of yak, looked like, he understood how to run with the ball, with the ball in his hands. Unlike Mike Evans, who looks about as natural as I don't know, a 5-legged mouse. I don't know what's really unnatural to see in the wild. A fish riding a unicycle, like I don't know. But Mike Evans, like he doesn't understand how to run with the ball in his hand, and he doesn't. It's weird.
And Mike Evans always plays better with Chris Godwin on the other side.
I'm not going to go that far, but
you don't think so? I really think he does. And
you don't think he played good his first 2 years in the league?
No, I think I didn't say he didn't play bad. I didn't say he plays bad without Chris Godwin. I said I think he plays better when Chris Godwin is over there. I don't think he
always plays better. He said he always plays better.
Okay.
Always.
Me. Always means, Ren.
All the time.
Always. No, but I do. It's not one of those Chris Godwin's gunning for his job. I think they play better when they're on the field together. Or at least Mike Evans plays better when Chris Godwin's on the other side.
Always.
Probably because he's taking off some heat, you would assume. That's probably the easy answer. But anyway, the good news is they're back. That's the thing I want to get to. Going forward, and especially going into this Green Bay game, which you have said the rest of the season, the Buccaneers should win every game except for 2. This coming week is one of them. Yeah.
I talked about the Chargers game. I'm like, look, this is the type of game that Tom Brady's brought in not to lose. Not only win it, but he's brought in not to lose the game. He tried, but then he really showed up and won the game. Okay. And it was the same thing at the Denver game, and then it was the same thing with Chicago. But, it was a wonky game. They couldn't get out of their own way. He didn't turn the ball over at all. He didn't throw a pick. The one turnover was like a dropped pass / fumble. So, I'm sorry, what was, So, like I said, if you just don't turn the ball over, you win the Chicago game 10 times out of 10. Same thing with the Chargers game. Same thing with the Denver game, but with this game, it's not enough just to not turn the ball over or have 100 yards in penalties. You can do both of those and still lose by a couple scores. And there's 2 teams left in the schedule that can do it to you. The Chiefs, which look mortal now, much more mortal than they did, 2-3 weeks ago.
Right.
And then the Packers, who do not look mortal, I think have scored 30 or more points every single time they've hit the field. So these are the 2 games, but again, I think every other game on the schedule is just going to be like these last 3. Don't commit 100 yards in penalties and don't turn the ball over, and you'll win because the offense is going to score points and the defense is going to stop them.
Right.
I mean, they are. It's just, it's don't beat yourself. If you don't beat yourself, you go 10-6 easy.
Right. And especially with an expanded playoff, that should damn near guarantee you a spot in the playoffs. There's always ways that it doesn't.
12-4 is still very seriously in play.
Right.
They are.
Yeah.
What
That's
team
even,
on this?
Even if they don't win this week, which I don't want to talk about that, but
yeah, if they don't win this week
don't,
and then they don't win, and they don't win the Chiefs game, that's 4 losses.
Right.
That's 12-4. Who
Right.
else is even like? Who else would you consider home or away as a possible like? Wow, they should be favored in this game. Like Green Bay should be favored in this game.
Mhm.
By the time we get to the Chiefs,
Okay, no question for that then. What about the Saints?
yeah. What about the Saints?
Should the Saints, with where the Saints are, and I didn't watch their last game.
Awful.
Was it? But they won though
Against the Chargers.
against
It
the
was
Chargers.
it was the exact same game except
really?
not as high scoring. That's what I said.
Really? Oh wow.
The Chargers were up to 20-0 or 20-3, and then he threw a pick right before halftime and made it 20-10 going into half. And then they had a field goal as time was running out that he hit the upright. The Chargers did to win the game outright before, and then it went to overtime. And they went down and kicked a field goal.
Yeah.
But Breeze can't. Breeze still got a noodle arm. Can't throw it down the field. Like just can't do it.
Right.
But you got Kamara, who they can barely run the ball with him anymore. But it doesn't matter because you put the ball in his hand and he'll make and on a screen pass and he'll make 3 people miss and turn a 2-yard gain into a 15-yard game 6 out of 10 times.
Right.
And there's your offense. But then again, by the time we play, Michael Thomas will probably be back and it'll be kind of a different team again.
Sure. Well, let's talk about.
So no, to answer your question, I think the Saints are absolutely beatable, and I think the Buccaneers have a better team right now. Again, you can't turn the ball over, which I get, but the Saints are also a very heavily penalized team. So that's kind of a wash.
Right.
I just think more familiarity with this offense. If we would have played the Saints week 6 and week 13, I think we won both of them.
Right.
The only reason we didn't beat the Saints was because it was week 1.
Well, let's talk about what I think an indication of a winning team typically is.
Sure.
And that's a good ground game. If you're getting good running yards, typically the team that has the better rushing yards is usually going to be the one that's winning because they're not, playing from behind and passing all the damn time.
Exactly. Because they're in the lead and they're running.
Right. So Rojo, for the second week in a row, first time in his career, gets over 100 yards.
Right.
Do you think he gets it? Do you think he gets what?
Third time in his career? Say third time?
It's third time in his career, but it's the first time he's ever had it in back-to-back weeks. That's
yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah. First time he's ever had it.
I was reading chat.
There you go. We said not to do that, Ren.
I know. I just wanted to
put it on private chat so you don't see it.
Okay. All right. I'm a liar. Okay, fine.
First of all, prediction time.
Sure.
Does that happen does Rojo go for 3 in a row?
1,700 yards. Oh, what?
Legitimately, and I don't know much about Green Bay's defense.
Sure. Neither do I.
Does Rojo legitimately go for another 100-yard and get 3 in a row?
I think it's definitely on the table. But it all depends if they want to get Fournette in there and they want to get McCoy in there. The biggest thing that helped Rojo get 100 yards 2 weeks in a row is they had no competition.
It was him.
And it was him almost 3 weeks in a row because McCoy 2 weeks ago. No, okay, he did get hurt 2 weeks ago. And that sort of Fournette was already hurt. No Fournette. Then McCoy gets hurt really early. And that's it. Like, this is it. These are the 2 you got. And they just rolled in the next week going, okay, we're just going to do it again.
Right.
And, and
McCoy was still hurt. Fournette was on break glass emergency. And then Barner, the other guy, like,
he wasn't going to take any touches away from him anyway.
And then Kenjon Barney just.
Yeah, it was the Rojo show. So, I mean, it's really, somebody said this. I don't remember where I saw it, but it's really the first time where Rojo sort of had the spotlight all to himself.
Right.
His first year, we just won't talk about.
Right.
Like, I don't care if it was maturity level or Dirk Cutter hated him or he could not spell or he didn't know how to read the playbook. I don't care. I'm not even talking about his rookie year. Last year, he split carries the whole entire year.
Yep.
The whole entire year. You know, beginning of the year, Barber got more of the carries. Second half of the year, Rojo got more of the carries. By the end of the year, it was pretty much all Rojo, but he wasn't, you know, he was getting, you know, 80, 75% of the carries.
Right.
But he has 2 games back to back where like there's no one coming to save you. And he completely responded.
Yeah. Yeah. So
except he can't catch
put on your offensive coordinator hat this week.
Sure.
Fournette comes back. McCoy comes back. You've seen what happens when Rojo gets the spotlight and doesn't have to share it.
Sure.
Do you give Rojo his 18 to 25 touches, 23 touches, whatever it is? Do you give him that? And not for the sake of padding his stats and getting him up over 100, but just because of the fact that we've seen when he gets that many touches, he moves the ball. He's successful with it. You know, I'm looking at it right now. He had 17 touches last week for 106 yards. He had 20 the week before against the Chargers for 111. You know, the week before that, he had 13 touches for 53 yards. Didn't look so great. 7 touches the week before that for only 23 yards. Like, obviously, the more touches you get, the more yards you're going to rack up at the end of the day. But still, like his yards per his average, his yards per carry was also way. It was a 6.2 yards per carry.
Yeah.
This past week. Do you continue to ride that hot hand, or do you go back to we're going to shuffle in Fournette, we're going to shuffle in McCoy in third down situations, and what do you do as an offensive coordinator?
I beat the hell out of Rojo for 3 quarters and then put in Fournette. I make Fournette watch.
Okay.
I make Fournette watch me talk about Rojo under my breath like he's not there. Wow, that guy's really good. Like, you know, wow, he's gonna get 1,000 yards easy. You know, to have Fournette just listening to it all game long. You know, and then every time, every time he comes off the field, you give Rojo a big hug. Wow, it's like, wow, you know, like, do we ever really need to get those 2 guys? I mean, wow, you finally turn into something special. Like, wow, you know. Maybe we could just cut the other guys and they don't get Super Bowl rings. What do you like? You know, to say that stuff. And then, you know, the fourth quarter rolls around and go, oh, Fournette, oh, you're still here? Go on and get a couple of runs and just watch him like just beat the crap out of like the interior of the defensive line that's already been beating the crap out of.
Being 100% fresh.
Yes. And just like blow over 300-pound guys and step on their chest. That's what I would do.
I like it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else, though.
Sure.
Rojo gets 100 yards this past game, and he does it behind this O-line. This O-line, which has been much aligned and much beat up by the fans, not necessarily in the stadium, although I'm sure they got their bumps and bruises from there, too. How worried are we about this O-line? Like, we've talked about Donovan Smith ad nauseum. We all know Tristan Wirfs is having a great rookie year.
Yep.
Ali Marpet is as rock solid as Ali Marpet's always been. Alex Kappa, he's gotten beat sometimes, and other times we just haven't talked about him. Ryan Jensen, we all love because he's nice and fiery, but yeah, he gets a stupid penalty every once in a while. But for the most part, Ryan's pretty solid too.
Yeah.
And Rojo, but the big thing about why the running game hasn't worked the last bunch of years is because the O-line's bad, and the O-line can't run block, and the O-line can't do anything. But Rojo got his yards behind this O-line.
Right.
So
what
do we think about the O-line moving forward?
I think they're fine. I have no problems with the O-line whatsoever. I mean,
whatsoever.
Besides Donovan Smith. 4 of the 5, I have no problem whatsoever. I don't. Like, Allie's going to be Allie. I think Jensen's having a really good season. And I'll tell you what, like, the tough guy crap sort of wears thin on me because it makes my anxiety shoot through the roof with Jensen. Because I feel like he's going to get a dumb penalty, you know. I feel like, you know, every time I see him in there scrapping with somebody, I'm like, okay, I got it. Okay, I got it. Just stop. Like, I don't need to. With Mike Evans, like, okay, like, you made your point. Quit before you hurt the team. Right. But I'll tell you what, man, that headbutt Jensen gave that guy was so non-existent.
Ticky-tack. Yeah.
He's gotten really roasted so far these 4 or 5 days since the game about, oh, Jensen, like, what are you doing? You're the offensive line. Like, come on, man. Like, he barely even touched the guy.
Right. Well, like, and the other guy came into him.
Yeah.
The other guy was coming in. Jensen just met him.
Met him halfway. It's how you kiss, man. You bring it halfway. You got to show your commitment too. Yeah, I mean that tap was so light, I would have absolutely no problem of putting my fingers in between their helmets and having them repeat what they just did.
Right.
And I don't think I would hurt at all. That's
Right.
how light it was. It was a completely ridiculous call.
Yeah.
But I can still understand the frustration because when it happened,
I'm sorry. Was that the call that when they threw the flag, he turns on and he goes, "What?" Like you hear him like over the ref's mic.
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't put it that I did not hear that at all.
Yeah.
So it could have been. You put it that way.
There was one play that they flagged him for. They like I guess he was walking by the ref as they told him, and you heard him like over the open mic go, "What?"
Yeah.
It was great.
Like me watching Buck games this year, I've gotten so fired up the refs. I have no idea how like they all have their teeth. Like if I was a player in some of these, like the Shaq Barrett,
Roughing the passer call.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I might have body slammed that guy.
No, Brett, he did exactly what you're taught. He rolled over, did not land his body weight on the guy.
And it wasn't even a half step.
Yeah.
Like he was hitting him. The ball was still in his hand while his body was making contact with Foles' body.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, he didn't fall on him. He put his hands up and rolled and landed on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And threw a flag. I might have freaking broke that guy's nose or like bit it off.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be kidding me.
That's actually what the face mask is for, Ren, is to prevent players from biting each other and the refs.
Nah, well, good thought. I like it. Preventive thinking.
There you go.
So, what were we talking about? The offensive line.
Yeah, offensive line.
Like, Donovan Smith at this point, like, I just don't even care anymore. Like, if you want to opt out now, I don't care. Like, if you have, the best 11 games you ever have, I don't care.
I don't want you back.
I don't. Like you said, like this is 6th year.
Yep.
You are what you are, and what you are is not worth 14 million.
No.
And it's really sketchy for a starting left tackle. You can probably much get away with having that type of play any other place along the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
But you're playing the most important piece for a right-handed quarterback.
Right.
You just are. And it doesn't have to be, and it's not that, you face the most explosive pass rusher, because you don't, because all teams move them around now. Worst got Mac just as much as Smith did. Worst got the guy you hate from the Saints, Cam Jordan.
Yeah.
He got him just as much as Smith did. He got Chubb just as much as Smith did. And I don't think Bosa moved actually because they didn't have Irvin. I think Wirtz had Bosa all game in the Chargers game. So
yeah,
I'm just over it. Like, you've had 6 years to prove yourself, and I don't care if I'm wrong or not. You look like you don't care. You look like you're not. When you mess up, it looks like you do not care. And I could be 100% wrong on that.
Right.
But I don't care. You mess up too much for just to be so nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
And he can't even pick people off the ground right. I know it's stupid.
Yeah.
But he can't even do that right. Like, he kind of spins you in a circle and pulls your arm out of the socket. It's just like everything about you is completely mediocre. It's pedestrianly mediocre. And I'm over it.
Yeah.
Like, I love your smile. I'm sure you're a great father. Congratulations on your first child. Your girl is beautiful. I wish you the best. You have come a long way from where you started. You've made money where you're going to set up your family for a generation at least, maybe 2. Congratulations. Get the fuck off my team.
That's our YouTube clip for this week, though, by the way. I love that. Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. Question, do you know? Because I don't.
What?
I don't watch college football all that much.
Sure.
Are there any good left tackles coming out of the draft this year?
We have good left tackles. Plus, you might not even have to look at good left tackles. It'd be good right tackles.
Oh, move Wirfs over.
And it's too early. Yeah.
No, I got another idea, Ren. Let's move Ali Marpet over.
Oh, there you go.
Let's do that. Let's move Ali over.
No, we'll move Jensen over and put Ali at center.
I guess we could do that. I tell you what, you know what Jensen would do if he played left tackle? if he turned around and Khalil Mack was barking in the face of his quarterback, Jensen would pop that guy and not just sit there and pat him on the head.
He would have ripped his helmet off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that one I've been okay with, which is weird since we complain about, okay, I'm done with that. Oh, well, that one's okay. Like, never do that again. Well, that one's all right. Okay, what am I gonna do? I'm a fan. Okay. I'm like that. What do you want?
Yeah.
To answer your college question, I only know like the top 2 or 3 tackles right now, and they're all left tackles.
Won't be that high.
And exactly. And they'll be gone way before, hopefully, the Bucs pick.
Right.
And if the Bucs do pick that early, then you might want to be looking at quarterback.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
As it sits right now, number 1 priority for the Bucs in the draft.
Left tackle.
Yeah.
It's got to be. Or tackle, a tackle.
Or a tackle.
Yeah. Like I would have went in, week 1, even after week 4, after Donovan had sort of the resurgence the past 2 weeks before, like I still would have said, man, tackle I get, but I want to give it a few more, I want to see a little more. But right now we need like interior and edge help, interior defensive line and edge help. That's where we need people. That's where, like, I would put our first 3 draft picks in there. But then after, like I said, Donovan's had 3 out of 5 games. He had 3 bad ones.
Yeah.
It just can't continue.
And we got 11 more left to go in the regular season, and we got 3-4 more left to go in the postseason.
And and he's gonna, and 5 of them will be fine. 2 of them will be great, and the other ones you're just gonna be like what are you smiling at?
Yeah,
like, why are you smiling, Donovan?
Right, right. And yet, as it goes, we still say until we get that next tackle in here, Donovan Smith is still our best option.
Yes.
He's still the best option.
I would not mind if this continues as bad as it has. Like, if he has like the next 2 games or like his first 2 games, and that makes 3 bad games in a row, like, it's come to a point where you have to explore their options. Like, I would not mind, like, start cross-training worse now.
Yeah.
Put worse left. Huh?
Do you think they are?
I don't know. I would be. But they're never going to do it in front of the media because they only get to watch for the first 30 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll never know. And then put Haig in at right tackle and flip worse to left. Like, it can't be any worse. Like, it's at the point where, like, I think I can do just as good than Donovan Smith's worst game. I'm serious. All I have to do is stand in between somebody and Tom Brady for like 2.4 seconds for 60 out of 65 plays. Those other 5 plays, I don't know. I have to like scratch their eyes out, spider monkey them, bite their shin bone. Like, I don't know what I have to do.
Like a shark.
Yeah, poke him in the eye. Like I like have some like a pile of sand like in my shorts and toss it in his face. Like
in a voodoo doll.
Yeah, like a little blowgun to the neck right before the snap. Like, whatever I have to do. But for like 65 of those plays, I just have to keep upright and in between the guy and Brady because he's going to get the ball out. Those other 5 plays where, the bull rush is coming or he makes an inside move or Brady holds the ball, I just got to hang on for dear life, man. And I make what, $14 million a year for that? None of that's true. I would get totally demolished. These guys are so much stronger than I am and so much bigger than I am.
Right.
But I could play corner. I still could play corner.
I always have to say, anytime I see Donovan in person and like I'm standing next to him, and I am not a small person.
Yeah.
In width or height. I am not a tiny person at all. Donovan makes me feel tiny.
He's a big man. Especially in cleats. When he's on cleats and cement with his helmet on, he looks like he's like 6'9".
Oh, he's
massive.
It's gross. All right,
and a very good athlete. He just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, Jason Leto talks about that neck up thing. And I don't
he gives a shit.
I'm done talking about Donovan. I don't want to go on, but it really, that's the difference between a guy who has all the potential in the world, which is what we've heard about Donovan for so many years now, and we keep getting fed that line, and the reality of where he is. He's got all the potential in the world. He's a great athlete.
Yeah.
He has all the tools.
Yeah.
He just doesn't give a shit. He can't put it together. At least that's the way it comes off.
Won't
At
move his
least that's the
feet.
way it comes off. All right. One last thing from me.
Sure.
It's something I think that we need to talk about. And I think we need, as Bucs fans, to have sort of a come to Jesus about, and just call a spade, call it what it is, or say that it's not this. Rob Gronkowski. Bringing him back.
Yeah.
Was a mistake?
No.
You don't think so?
No. Why do you think Rojo's running the ball so damn well?
Because we have a sixth extra lineman. Yeah. I'm putting this out there because this is a topic I see among the fandom out there.
Stay off Facebook.
So you think Gronk is doing just fine, coming back out of retirement, being out of football for a year, looking much skinnier than I remember him from when he left.
Sure.
Playing with a new team. You're good with Gronk. Would you want Gronk back next year?
Sure. Well, let me put it to you this way. Is Gronk the reason the Bucs have 2 losses? And your reasonings why the Bucs lost the Saints game and lost the Bears game, where does Gronk fit on that?
I think I find him in the non-factor segment. The Bucs didn't lose because of him, but he didn't help them necessarily win.
Okay.
Now you can make that argument because he's on the line, he's helping out, he's helping the blocking, all of these things. This kind of goes back to the headline that shouldn't have been a headline about Gronk, of the way his production hasn't been matching. And then, we saw him, catch a touchdown and get a
the next game he got 7 catches.
Right. But see, this is what happens when I talk about things that other people talk about.
I don't have an opinion on it.
Do what?
No, I don't have a fleshed out opinion on it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna have to see how it goes. Now, Brate's gonna get more production as OJ's down. Gronk can do some of the things OJ did. He can't separate as much. But no one really make contested catches a lot better than Gronk. He's dropped some I was shocked at, You can put it up. I don't think it's because he's a year older. I don't think it's because he missed a year of football. I do kind of think he's missed a year of football. But I just think, when this team starts to get rocking and rolling, I think he's going to be a big part of moving the chains with his hands, with his pass catching ability. And he's already a huge part of moving the chains in the run game. Right. And again, why are you paying him $10 million a block? Well, we're paying Donovan Smith $14 million not to block. And you're not paying any of it. So what do you care?
Right.
It's a cap. We're under it. This is what we got. Would you rather have the $10 million and not Gronk? Would you rather have the $10 million in cap space and not have Gronk? It's just, I get it. You're frustrated. You Facebook idiots out there. So, but yeah, if Gronk's your problem when you talk about this team, then you're a dumb face.
Yeah, there are other things to have problems about with this team. Here's my thing with Gronk, right? And this is the answer I see most often out there. Is like, oh, it's because he's always next to Donovan Smith helping block out. He's next to Donovan Smith helping to block out. I don't want to pay 2 players to play one position.
Well, first off, that's just wrong. He's not always next to Donovan Smith. Sometimes he's next to Tristan Wirth.
Thank you.
Sometimes he's split out. Sometimes he's in the H-back.
Right.
He does run routes.
Right. And that's my point. A lot of people I always see that's one of the first responses when people talk about Gronk is, oh, well, it's because he's always helping out Donovan Smith. He's always helping out Donovan Smith. And I'm going, no. If that was true, I would have a much bigger problem with Gronk. Because do what?
Why?
And I'm sorry. If that's true, I would have a much bigger problem with the situation. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Because again, I still don't think we need to have 2 players, 2 of our 11 guys on offense wrapped up in one position all the time. Donovan Smith is what Donovan Smith is. and both tackles at times need help on one side or the other. That's why you put the extra blocking tight end in there. I get that.
Right.
But to say that we brought in Gronk to block and to only be here and to help out this one guy, I would have a problem with that. But I don't think that's where I'm getting to. I don't think that's what they're doing. And as you just detailed, Gronk's not always next to Donovan Smith, which was my next point. So
let me put it this way.
Yeah.
If the Bucs were 5-0 and Gronk only lined up next to Donovan Smith, would you care?
It's a very good point. No,
Yeah.
you don't. No, and you know what else you don't care about? You don't care about who's getting the yards. You don't care about who's getting the touches. You don't care about any of those little details when you're winning.
Yeah.
Only when you're losing.
Exactly.
And honestly, you wouldn't care much about Donovan Smith and how poorly he's playing.
Yeah. Because when you win, you're like, okay, great win. Okay, let's talk about all the good stuff. There was some bad stuff. We'll clean it up next week. No problem.
Yeah.
When you lose, you go, we lost. Whose fault is it?
Yeah. And you want to point it to one person.
Yeah.
Or one thing.
The biggest
thing. And the truth is, it's not one thing. It's a multiple things that accumulates.
Yeah.
It's some of those things fixed for this week, and some won't.
Sometimes it's the left, and sometimes it's the tackle, and sometimes it's the left tackle. Just kidding. I know I'm pounding on Donovan too much. And Donovan hasn't been a huge part of the reason why we're losing games. He has been a huge part of reasons why the offense hasn't looked as good as we wanted. But for actually losing games, he's contributed. He's contributed more than most. Never mind. I take that back.
Yeah.
For somebody who never touches the ball, he sure does contribute a lot.
Right.
To negative plays.
Right. All right, Ren. Well, I mean, that's really everything I had, just sort of things that I have been thinking or things that I have seen Bucs fans out there talking about over the last 4 or 5 days since the Chicago Bears game, especially looking forward. Did you have anything you wanted to discuss or bring up or shed more light on or offer an opinion on or whatever you do?
Whatever you do. No, not really. I mean, I haven't been hurt that bad by a loss since the Giants game. This one really stung. I was really looking forward to being 4-0 and rolling into this Packers game and having fans there, and you would have got to go. And oh man, it wouldn't been prime time, but it's definitely Aikman's doing the game again, which I think they're a curse. They've done 2 games, which is both our losses, by the way. Aikman and Buck, and we've had pretty poor performance.
It would be unfair to see if that continues this week and call that definitively a curse.
No, I would curse. It's the reason they're losing. Aikman, obviously something in the water.
Right. Well, maybe it's the color jerseys they're wearing.
Who, Aikman?
No.
It's Aikman and Buck's fault is what the problem is. It's right. Joe Buck's and Aikman's fault. We've had 2 losses, and and they were calling both games, and now they're going to call this one. So obviously, 1's 2's a trend, 3, we got to cut the weed out from the root right there.
When you're going against arguably the best team in the NFL right now.
It's the announcer's fault, as always.
Announcer's fault, yeah.
So
Romo this year. Let's get Tony Romo in the booth.
Okay. The defense isn't playing nearly as bad as you think. The offense, as you know, and I know, haven't put it together for even 3 full quarters, let alone 4 full quarters.
Right.
Sometimes they're good in the first half. Sometimes they're good in the second half. They've been good in the first half 4 of the 5 games and good in the second half 1 of the 5 games. Right. But this is going to be a test. And even if we lose and go 3-3, 12-4 is still on the table. And it's not on the table because it's, excuse me. It's not on the table because it's mathematically on the table. It's on the table because it can happen. As sure as you thought as a Buck fan that the Bucs were going to beat the Bears, that's as sure as I am that 12-4 is still on the table for this team, even if they lose the Packers. Now, like you talked about, if we win this game, which we have, 50-50 chance, I'll give them. 50-50 chance, maybe 45-55.
Mhm.
Because of the run game and Villa being out, and they haven't faced anybody, Aaron Rodgers caliber. I don't think that defense has faced an Aaron Rodgers caliber quarterback ever. Those
Yeah.
three corners.
I mean, that's including Breeze this year.
Oh yeah, definitely including Breeze. I mean, if you only got to play 20 yards off the ball because that's all you can throw. So, then all's forgiven, and everything will be fine in Buckland. And it's just a hiccup. It was a Thursday night game. They had to travel. Here comes Mike Evans wasn't feeling well, blah, 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 blah.
Everybody was injured.
Right. Yeah. And that's what you're going to hear. But, yeah. So
It's
even like
what I'd say too.
yeah. I mean, so even if we lose this game, like I will feel better getting blown out in this game than I did after that Chicago game. Like by yards, by from here to the moon.
Yeah.
If we lose this game, it is not going to bother me one little bit unless it's there to be had and we lose it because of like a turnover or dumb penalties or a late sack. If we're competitive in this game and it ends up being like, wow, that was a really good game. Shame somebody had to lose and we lose that one, I'm okay.
Right.
But if the game was there to be had and the Bucs beat the Bucs, I'm going to be upset because it's becoming it's a pattern.
Right.
It's been a pattern with the offense for half the game, every single game. And, you can't really say it's been a pattern with the defense. It's just a pattern with the offense. So, or like if it's a missed field goal and a game-winning field goal, like there's a multitude of things could happen. But as it stands now, as disappointing as Chicago loss was, we're fine. Like really, we're fine.
Right.
We're more than fine. We're leading the division.
Still.
Yeah. Along with two other teams, but still. We're leading the division.
All right, Ren. Well, man, I think that's going to do it for us here on this sort of cooler heads prevail. Hopefully, we don't ever have to do a show like this again. Do what?
That's okay. Yeah. Like that's never going to happen. I mean, that's like, I don't know. Like, what do you even say to that? Like, hopefully Trump won't tweet anything stupid. Hopefully, like what are the chances of that?
That we'll ever have to do a show like this again? Probably pretty good at some point.
Yeah.
Probably
really good. Really good.
Not this year. Let's roll. Let's go. Where are we now? Let's go 14-2, and let's make it all the way. Anyway,
sure.
Red, tell the folks where they can find you out there on the internet. Talk to you about anything that we talked about today.
In week 16, we'll barely beat the Falcons. And even though we just went 14-2, the whole nation will freak out because now it's playoff time. You can't make those mistakes in the playoffs. I've been seeing patterns of the second half of the season of even though they've won all the games, like this is not going to stand up against the better teams. Yeah, we're going to have one of these again. Best place to find me is on the internet at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football, but if you do not want to put your take out there because it's too hot, or maybe you're just a private person, you can slide in my DMs and I'll talk Buccaneers football with you as well too.
And if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. And you can find the show at the PewterCast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You find us out there on the World Wide Web at thepewtercast.live. Join us over on YouTube. Make sure you catch all the videos, all the live videos, live streams. You never know when we're going to do one of these episodes as a live stream because these are always meant to be the podcast, the audio feed, but you never know when one might go live. But when you do know we're going to go live?
When, Brent?
That's after the games. We're going to go live. We'll have our call-in show. We'll have people will link in, provided we can make all the technology work. And as Ren referenced earlier, I'm going to be at the game this week.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a plan.
Do we?
We have a plan to make the show happen.
We've talked about it.
We'll see if it works out.
All right.
We'll see. But we have a plan.
Classic PewterCast plan. Brent has made a decision. Hasn't informed Ren yet.
We talked about it. It's the plan that we talked about. But before that, we will also have our Buck in the News show. Those also go live Friday nights. And you guys want to email the show, you can do that too, thepewtercast@gmail.com. Please keep in mind anything that you guys send us in, we may use on a future episode of the PewterCast. Well, guys, that's going to do it for us now. So until next time, we'll close the show out as always. Go Bucs.